Welcome classic rock fans to the first in a series of videos where I intend to excavate and explore my CD collection. This video has been much requested by you guys, probably because you're all nosy buggers, I suspect. But I think Pete Pardo has done it recently, and there's other YouTubers who've been doing it, so a bit of a bandwagon gaining momentum there. So the first one on my list is Bryan Adams and Reckless, and my word, was this a popular album. I remember seeing him perform on the Tube way back in the day. I don't know if you remember that TV show. This was a popular album. I think it shipped like 12 million copies worldwide. According to Wikipedia, it was the first album to shift 1 million copies just within Canada alone. And this record contains all the Bryan Adams classics you would ever want: Summer of '69, One Night Love Affair, Run to You, which I still love. And also Lou Gramm contributes backing vocals to this album. And how awesome is that? What a singer, eh? This album made the top 49, number 49 on Kerrang's 100 Greatest Heavy Metal Albums of All Time. Well, go figure, eh? I did this 10 best heavy metal albums, and I included Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses, and got so much crap for it. That's not heavy metal. Well, bugger me, if this is heavy metal, I'm pretty sure Guns N' Roses are kind of like Metallica, aren't they, in comparison? My point being is that back in the day, heavy metal wasn't as nuanced as it is now. Anything that was loud and guitar-based was often just labelled heavy metal. I remember Status Quo being discussed within the paradigms of heavy metal as well, so there you go. As the great comedian once said, the hardness of the butter is proportional to the softness of the bread. Anyway, so there you go, that's the first one on my list, Bryan Adams' Reckless from 1984. Next one is Tori Amos, Boys for Pele from 1996. This is the deluxe edition, really, which has all the B-sides and things. She had some wonderful B-sides. On the Under the Pink album, there was a B-side called Honey. Why that didn't make it onto that album, I don't know. This is a great album because she moves away from those very piano-based numbers she did on Little Earthquakes and Under the Pink. And this embodies a new kind of experimentalism. I love the deep, resonant chords that starts off this album, and the harpsichord on Blood Roses is just sublime. Although not all the critics loved it, I think Ozone Layer described it as unfathomable, impenetrable, and personally opaque. There you go, Boys for Pele by Tori Amos. That takes pride of place on my shelf. Next one is Air and Moon Safari from 1998, if I'm not mistaken. 1998, that's the date I've got here. It's a gorgeous record of this electronic soundscaping. They're a French band, but we shouldn't hold that against them, of course. Sexy Boy's a dark and lush number. When performed live, though, it tends to take on a new identity, kind of a jazzy, funky vibe to it. I like what John Mulvey said about it in NME, and I'm quoting, he said that Air's sensitive but tenacious grasp of melody, a laid-back disposition, and a reckless way with the vocoder that makes them unafraid of sounding like a digital ELO. I think this record is fabulous, and I've just realised I've been holding it upside down all the time. There you go. I think this record is fabulous. If you like all that sort of electronic soundscaping, I think you'll enjoy it. So let's turn our attention to AC/DC. The first one is Back in Black from 1980. Their requiem for their fallen bandmate. What a seismic, incredible album this is, and it had to be. I mean, let's be honest, if this album had sucked, it would have, AC/DC would have been toast, I think. Full of the crunch of guitars and that tubercular rasp of Johnson, not to mention all the AC/DC lewdness, which is just as it should be. This one, for those about to rock, I mean, the title track on this takes it to AC/DC to a new level of awesomeness. This album is a bit of a falling off, I think, from the quality of Back in Black, but nevertheless there's some great stuff on here. Let's Get It Up, Inject the Venom, Breaking the Rules, Night of Long Nights, Spellbound. I think it's a good album. This album and Back in Black is kind of well executed lewdness, isn't it? It's the heavy metal version of Up Pompeii. Can I call them heavy metal? Would you forgive me if I called them that? I know AC/DC don't like to be referred to as heavy metal, but there you go. Fuck them, that's what I say. Next one is AC/DC Power Up, which came out a couple of years ago. It's a good album. It's AC/DC by numbers, really. It's you can get it for about $4.99 at the moment on Amazon. I wonder how many of you went out and brought the deluxe edition with the blinking, fizzing light. Bugger me, I bet that went on eBay a long time ago. But anyway, that's that. I mean, I love the track Through the Mists of Time, which shows a a kind of maturing of AC/DC lyrically anyway. AC/DC meets Crosby, Stills and Nash. Well, not quite, but just good AC/DC fare, isn't it? What every growing boy needs. And speaking of AC/DC, there's this band as well, Airborne. I rather enjoy this lot. They must get sick of the AC/DC comparisons, but hey, they are hard rock and they're bluesy and they're from Australia, so what could you expect? Saw these guys at the Rambling Man Fair in, I think it was 2015. What a great live band they are. If you get the chance to see them, do make the effort, because they're fabulous. This is a deluxe edition, comes with a DVD of Live at the Wacken Festival in 2008. Lots of songs about beer and shagging. What more could you want? As regards their comparison to AC/DC, I think the band have said that to be compared to the best rock and roll band in the business, there's no higher compliment. Many of you are wondering why my CDs are in these little cases. It's simply because I got rid of the jewel cases a long time ago. I can now store twice as many CDs without my wife knowing about it, so there you go. Next one is Abba Arrival from 1976. This is the deluxe edition with lots of video content, which is always good when we talk about Abba. See, there is this rumour going about that I don't like them, and I just thought I'd dispel that before it transmogrifies horribly into fact. In fact, I think Noel Gallagher said something like, if you want to learn about good songwriting, listen to the Beatles, the Bee Gees and Abba. Wonderful quality tunage on this, beautiful melodies and great song construction. I rather enjoy them. And they were quite nice to look at as well, which always helps. Strutting around the stage in these obscenely short skirts, flashing their Alan Wickers halfway through Fernando. Interesting, my father, who hated popular music, would always put down his newspaper when ABBA came on the telly. That tells you something, doesn't it? And this one, Abba The Album from 1978. Of course, the film had a very tight-trousered Agnieszka Volstdog pursued relentlessly by some salivating journalists as they circumnavigated Oz. Eagle on this is a fine bit of tunage, a tribute to Don Henley and Glenn Frey and all those guys. And Name of the Game is probably one of the finest songs I've ever done. It includes that suite, doesn't it? The girl with golden hair, thank you for the music and all that gubbins. I must admit I hardly play these albums anymore, but nevertheless I take great comfort knowing that they're actually there, a bit like Shropshire. Next one in my pile is Ian Anderson's The Secret Language of Birds. Listened to this last night. What a great record this is. A wonderful album. Love the songwriting, the textures, the musicality of the whole thing. The cynic in me wonders whether or not the best writing ended up on this album, and the offcuts that were just withering on the vine got kind of constructed or formed into Tull.com. But this is a wonderful album if you're a Tull fan. Even if you're not a Tull fan, check this one out. Next one is John Anderson's Elias of Sunhillow from 76. Again, this is the deluxe edition, which contains a DVD with a 5.1 mix, which I've never heard because I don't have a 5.1 system. This is a John Anderson solo record, 1976. Did I say that? I think I said that. But anyway, this is a John Anderson solo record in every sense of the word. I think he plays every instrument on it. Harps, guitars, percussive elements, Peruvian nose flutes, the lot he plays. I love the way it starts with that atmospheric rumble and those sharp Celtic sounding twangs that emanate from the fog of sound. Beautiful stuff with Roger Dean inspired artwork. So if you don't have this in your collection, which I'm sure you do, make sure you acquire a copy. Let's stick with John Anderson, shall we, and go with this one. John Anderson's animation from 1982. This saw him experimenting with a lot more of the electronic textures that were very much in vogue at the time. It was written at a time when he was already collaborating with people like Mike Oldfield, Vangelis, and as I said, that electro-pop was kind of the in thing. And that to some extent shapes the vision for this album, even with a very new wave, new romantic looking cover. And several musicians were involved, including Simon Phillips, Jack Bruce and Maurice Pert. Next one is Ryan Adams' Heartbreaker from 2000, as he breathes new life into that the motif of masculine heartbreak that Sinatra exploited so well 30 or 40 years prior to this. Wonderful debut album. Wonderful. I love Ryan Adams' stuff. I saw him live a few years ago. I really do enjoy his music, although I don't keep up with it anymore. He releases a new album every full moon, I think. I just cannot keep up with him. But this is a great one. And, the critics were quite complimentary about this one. Apart from Rolling Stones, Anthony de Curtis, who was less enthusiastic, he said, Adam's songs too often fail to rise above their plain-spoken details, to take on the symbolic power he yearns for. I disagree with him. I think this is a wonderful piece, wonderful album. Next one is Richard Ashcroft, Alone with Everybody from 1999. I bought this album when I was living in Russia, living in Moscow, and played this album to death. I haven't played it since then. Probably bring a whole spate of memories flooding back. I think A Song for Lovers is worth the price of admission alone on this one. Of course, I think this album did fairly well due to the fact we were all still salivating for the Verve at this time. And most people were singing its praises when it came out. In fact, NME said that Ashcroft's newly discovered stability has done nothing to blunt his powers of communication or reduce his belief in the apocalyptic potential of music. I think the steadying of the ship they're referring to was that volatile vessel that was the Verve. Great album, by the way, great album, love it, still love it. Next one is this one. It's a collection of 5 CDs by Chet Atkins. I bought this after reading the biography of Steve Howe, and after listening to Chet Atkins, you can easily see how Clap is actually a homage to this guy. This contains 5 classic albums on 2 discs. Next one is The Answer, Rise from 2006. It's a great hard-rocking Irish band, very much in the vein of Thin Lizzy. I bet they get tired of people saying that. This is a great album, a great band. Saw them live a couple of times and they're fantastic, really are. And they have a new album coming out in March. Next month, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, my birthday in fact. Next one is Alter Bridge. Is this their debut album? No, I think it's actually, I've got it upside down again. This is Alter Bridge, this is their 2nd album, I believe. I really like this, it's gloriously heavy. It's one of those albums I put on my MP3 player and listen to at the gym. I really enjoy this. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, no doubt salivating like Pavlov's dog, at the anticipation of which album is going to be my favourite out of this batch of A. Well, my favourite is this one, the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore East. This came out in 1971. This is the 2 CD deluxe edition. It's not so yellow. The outer sleeve is a bit yellow. Take this off and it resumes its normal colour. This is a fabulous album on so many levels. The Allman Brothers were frustrated with the fact that their sound wasn't well represented with the studio work they'd done so far. So this is perfectly encapsulates the power of this band, especially as a live act, the beautiful intertwining guitar and jams. And it is actually a genuine live album. I think there's no tampering at all, or very little tampering on it, so what you hear is what you heard on the night, or several nights in fact. It was about this time, of course, Duane Allman was contributing to Eric Clapton's new project as well, Derek and the Dominoes. There's another fine album for you. Duane Allman was really impressed with Cream, of course, and likewise Clapton was pretty impressed with Duane Allman's session work on Wilson Pickett's Hey Jude some years prior. This album is frighteningly good. It just something you just immerse yourself in. I don't agree at all with Robert Christgau when he describes it as musically aimless. It's a beautiful piece of work. So there you go, that's my favourite album in this batch of A. Anyway, let's draw a line there and call it a day. I'll leave you with my closing salvo, which is hope you're well, staying safe, but more importantly, you keep listening.